Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for another long-awaited episode of the Handle That podcast. I honestly cannot remember the last time I done one of these. I think the last video I talked about Simone Biles and her husband and all the backlash that he was getting from, like, I don't know what that shit was, but none of that is relevant right now. What is relevant is, firstly, how y'all doing out there? How you doing? How's your life? How's the wife? How's the kids? How's the husband? How's everything? I'm gonna jump right into this right here, right? I was on TikTok live earlier today, and I was talking about how I can't really speak about the North, but people from the South, they didn't really take mental health serious when I was a kid, right? When I was a kid, I got bullied a lot, got picked on a lot. Like, it's funny because I made a video on TikTok, which you should follow me on TikTok if you don't, at Abdul Aesthetics. I'll put the link to my TikTok in this video as well. I'll also put the link to my backup page as well. You should follow me. It's called Abdul Vanguard. But funny enough, I got these Yu-Gi-Oh cards. If you listening to the audio, I just pulled out some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I pulled out the Egyptian God cards. I made this video a while back talking about how you should heal your inner child by getting yourself things that you could never get as a kid. And what that does is it puts you in a certain mental space where you may not have experienced it when you wanted to experience it, but you still were able to. You see what I'm saying? Just something that could heal that inner child inside. You know what I'm saying? Because we act like it's not there. But I told my old man this years ago, I feel like there's no such thing as an adult. I feel like adults, that was just a construct made to just, for whatever fucking reason. I feel like we're all at our highest point of trauma. We're all just kids in adult bodies figuring shit out. Because the trauma that follows you, like the trauma that you experience as a kid, it follows you into your adulthood. And, I've been through a lot of bullshit. I've been traumatized several times. That's why I'm such a good guy. And I was bullied a lot, picked on a lot, and, the people around me, because I know it's not everybody, the people around me were not good people. And I know folks would be like, oh, well, they were probably hurt too. I don't give a fuck about that, because I was hurt more than you could ever fucking imagine. I didn't hurt people. I didn't set people up. I didn't do anything. And people will say, well, you can't expect people to think like you and be like you. I'm not expecting you to be like me. I'm expecting you to be a decent human being. Notice I said decent, not good. Right? Not good. You don't have to be good. Being good is overrated. But you can be a decent fucking human being. And it's just that level of space, that safe space, a lot of kids weren't offered or allotted back then, and it led to them being really messed up, really messed up as adults. And I had to go through a lot of shit to get to where I'm at right now. I had to go through a lot of mental struggles. I had to go through a lot of pain, anguish, depression. I don't believe in depression and anxiety anymore. For me, I know it happens to other people, but for me personally, I don't believe it can happen. I refuse to believe that I'll ever be depressed again. I refuse to believe that I'll ever be stressed. Or not stressed. Stress is very fucking real. But I refuse to believe that I'll ever be anxious again. Because those things, you give those things power. You see what I'm saying? You give those things power. And I had to realize that to become the person I am today. And to tell a funny story, the story that I was telling on TikTok Live, right? The story that I was telling on TikTok Live was I brought a weapon to school, right? Not gonna say what kind of weapon it was, but let's just say my older brothers were in the lifestyle, if you catch my drift. I grew up in the hood, and I was just being picked on, and nobody was really listening to me. I was always labeled as the bad kid, but realistically I was just screaming for help and nobody would listen. So I started acting out, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna make these motherfuckers stop bothering me. I'm gonna make these motherfuckers stop picking on me. I'm going to, I'm not fucking around. And luckily, things didn't turn out the way that they could have. Something was in me telling me not to do anything stupid, and I listened. And, time went on, and I'm a better person because of it. But why do you even have to get to that point? You see what I'm saying? Why do you have to get to that point? Why do you have to get to a point as a kid, not a man, as a kid? Why do you have to get to that point to where you feel the need to do something like that? You feel the need to defend yourself when nobody else is going to defend you. You feel the need to do something to stop this type of pain and anguish that's coming your way. Excuse me. Because nobody else pays attention to it. Because from where I grew up, mental problems was white people shit. It's so fucking stupid. It's so dumb. But black folk around me, they didn't pay attention to it growing up. It was really just a bunch of bullshit. And sad to say, a lot of kids suffered in silence because of that shit. You got motherfuckers that have horrible parents. Some folks in their family might be doing drugs. They never had a good relationship with their dad or their mom. And so you grow up with these holes and these voids in your heart, and the world just tells you to figure it the fuck out without giving you proper direction and guidance to actively change and work on the things that are turning you slowly into a fucked up human being. You see what I'm saying? That's the crazy shit, right? It's like you give me these scars, and then you get mad at me when I try to fix it, and you don't even tell me how to do it properly. Doesn't fucking make sense to me. I'm just saying. And so you really just take all this shit into consideration. You really just take all of this into consideration, and you think, how does one change from the things that used to destroy them, that are actively destroying them? Because you do things like develop coping mechanisms. And I talk about this on YouTube and TikTok all the time, where I say your coping mechanism will eventually destroy you. Right? Your coping, that thing that you used to fill that void will eventually destroy you. Right? I was open about mine, which was food. That's why I gained so much fucking weight. That's why it was so hard for me to lose weight. Right? I just recently started getting back on the final weight loss journey I'll ever be on. And I call it final because I'm not fucking up anymore. And I had to come to terms with my own bullshit, which was instilled in me from childhood. Because the only type of power and control I had over any situation that involved me was what I could eat, what I could consume. I would steal candy. I would steal food. I got jacked up. It's funny. This Hispanic family took over this corner store. I'll never forget this day. This Hispanic family took over this like neighborhood corner store that was owned by this black guy forever. I think he might have passed away or some shit. And I went in there and I stole some chips. And the guy jacked me the fuck up. At the time I felt like he was like 6'5", but he was realistically like 5'7". I was just short as fuck. I'm a kid. And so that's how bad it got, because I didn't want to wait until my mama got home to cook food. I wanted to eat now because kids chasing me from school, motherfuckers bullying me. I got other things, that happened that I'm thinking about. What am I supposed to do? And how am I supposed to express myself when the world tells me, shut the fuck up, you little black motherfucker? That's essentially what I heard. Huh? That's essentially what the fuck I heard. And so, moving forward, you still have to answer the question of, how do you truly deal with that shit? Right? How do you truly deal with the things that were once comfortable, the things that once gave you a sense of peace, a sense of belonging? It could be a cigarette, could be weed, could be some type of narcotic, it could be, sex, it could be anything. But the thing is, when you have a coping mechanism, it ultimately becomes an addiction. And when has an addiction ever been good? Workaholics, you're addicted to work. Porn, you're addicted to watching people fuck. You see what I'm saying? Food, you're addicted to the sensation of food. And it's like, having a food addiction is one of the worst ones to have, because nobody gives a fuck about it. Nobody cares because everybody eats. Not everybody snorts coke. Everybody eats. Not everybody puff trees. So people look at you and say, oh, well, you're a fucking fat piece of shit. You need to figure it out. Not knowing you are literally dying inside. You are hurting inside. You got some shit going on in your head that nobody would understand. But they want you to fucking figure it out because you're the only person that's going to be able to pull yourself out of this fire, and nobody gives a fuck because in their minds, you just need to stop eating. Whole time, I said this on TikTok Live earlier, whole time, the people that say that to you are the ones that suffer the most because they're the ones that do coke. They're the ones that do narcotics. They're the ones that can't put down cigarettes. They're the ones that can't stop watching people have sex. They're the ones that go through all of this shit, but they look at you because all you do is eat food when all they do is every fucking thing else I said. And they call you a bad person. Ain't that some shit? Now, this isn't strictly about people who suffer with food addictions. I'm just saying. You see what I'm saying? However, it's one that means a lot to me because that's where I come from, right? I am so open and vulnerable and I'm expressive with the people on TikTok. I'm on TikTok Live right now. I'm, expressive with them and people who follow me and subscribe to my YouTube channel and all of that shit because I realize that this voice that I have and the things that I've been through, actively conquering these things can show people who went through similar things or are actively going through these things that you don't have to just sit there and accept this as your life. You can actually do something about it. And I'm not about to call you a piece of shit because apparently that's the only way to motivate somebody to change their life is to call them a weak, broke, loser piece of shit. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. Everybody want to be the next mega motivator. That's not how that fucking works. You mean to tell me there's multiple ways to do everything in the world, but you have to motivate people one way? That's bullshit. That's dog shit. I'll never believe that. I will sit here. I got a friend of mine literally going through a divorce right now. Been talking to this motherfucker for a year. And sometimes we have the same conversations day 365 that we had day one. Because I understand sometimes repetition is needed to get you through whatever fucking problem you have. Sometimes you need to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over. You need to look at that problem 1,000 times. And that 1,001 time, you're going to figure it out. You're going to figure it out. You are allotted the privilege to do that with every other fucking thing in life. But food and shit like that? Nah, you just a fat piece of shit. Stop eating, motherfucker. Ain't that fucked up? That's fucked up, bruh. And I'm not making excuses because I truly believe that people who go through that, yes, you have to understand. Just like people who are addicted to narcotics, you have to figure out a way eventually to break away from this bullshit. You have to do it. But let's not beat you down because obviously the world has beat you down even further. When you look at somebody who is 300, 400, 500 pounds, there's an obvious problem. Not just they eat too much. What is going on in this motherfucker's brain that is causing them? Because when you eat, I eat, they eat, everybody eats, right? When you eat, there is something in your brain that says, hey, we got enough food. You should fucking stop eating. And so you just stop. It's called being full, right? And then the crazy thing, this is the beauty of the fucking, of human biology. Right before you get full, I'm thinking maybe 5 to 10 bites before you really get full, your brain sends a smaller message to stop fucking eating. Where you feel you're satiated. You're not full, but you're satiated. You got enough food, fuel in your body for your body to do what it needs to do to move forward. Right? You keep fucking eating. So you basically told your brain to shut the fuck up. I'm gonna keep fucking eating because I feel this way. Right? So what is going on in your brain that turns that shit off to where you don't even feel it anymore, because most fucking people who are obese and deal with food addiction, they're not even eating for taste. They're eating for the sensation of having power over something. Let that marinate right quick. I swear this ain't all about food addiction. I just got on one. I'm sorry. But moving on. We'll get back to that at a later time. Moving on. This ain't even gonna take that long. It's already been like 16 minutes. I'll probably be here for another 5. But moving on. What do you do when you have a obvious block that stops you from getting to where you need to get to, knowing full well that you have the capability of fucking getting this shit done, but it's something in you that stops you, right? Because like I said, it's not all about food and shit. Could be people with legitimate problems. Same rules apply. People really underestimate the power of childhood trauma. They do. People really underestimate the power of childhood trauma and how aggressive that shit is and how long it takes for a person to overcome those fucking scars. Think about a kid that was sexually abused. Like, I'm sorry. Boy or girl, think about that. That is fucking trauma that you don't forget overnight. You have to go through decades even of just, untying those mental knots so we can get to the fucking nitty gritty of what happened and how did you feel and how did this make you feel and, this is a safe space and it wasn't your fault and all this other shit, right? You would be surprised how telling somebody who's obviously going through some shit, you would be surprised how telling them it wasn't your fault. You'd be surprised what that would do for them. You would be surprised what listening to a person's problem would do for them. Because realistically, a lot of people already know how to deal with the fucking problem. They just need somebody to listen to them get this shit off their chest. We call that venting. But I guess we're all too busy and cool to vent. I will never understand why society has done such a great job at making people isolate themselves from each other. We are put on this fucking rock or disc or whatever the fuck you believe in to interact with humans. Because if there was no interaction, there would be no babies. No babies means no more humans. No more humans mean we die. Huh? You see what I'm saying? So the truth is this. Again, how do we allow people a safe space to get certain things off their chest? And from there, how do we psychologically break down all of the barriers that they may or may not have put up as a result of having to deal with these things on their own and having no direction? Go back to what I said at the beginning of this shit. No direction. Society puts all this shit on your fucking plate and gives you no direction on how to deal with it. Let that marinate for a second while I finish this tea now. I got about 2 more sips left. This is black tea. This is a funny ass cup. This shit says coffee makes me poop. This is black tea with a little bit of raw unfiltered honey and some lemon squeeze. I had lemons in my refrigerator, but I'd be forgetting that they're in my refrigerator and they go bad. How the fuck do lemons go bad? Anyway, I digress. The truth of the matter is this. We all go through shit. We all go through shit. We all go through life. We all need a space to talk about and to deal with the problems that we just carry with us throughout our lives. You might have parents who are hard asses. Your parents are carrying on to childhood trauma. You may have friends that never want to leave the house. There's a good chance they're holding on to childhood trauma. You may have somebody who does weird ass shit as a means of just trying to make you laugh. They're probably dealing with childhood trauma. You remember the class clown? Every class clown was a motherfucker who was dealing with some type of trauma at the time. Every single one. Class clowns turn into Facebook comedians. Facebook comedians go through so much shit in their heads, it's not even funny. You want to know how I know? I used to fucking be one. I used to be both of them, class clown and a Facebook comedian. And you probably wondering, like, what the fuck did the Facebook comedian? Just trust me, man. Social media age. Keep up. I got you. I'm not going to leave you behind. I'm right here. Huh? I ain't going nowhere. So the thing is this, man. Give people grace. Understand that people go through shit. And don't judge anybody for figuring life out, because this is their first time going around this rock, just like it's your first time. They may have been here a little bit longer. They may have been here a little bit shorter. Either way, they're still here. I'm going to leave you with this. Don't ever think that you are too broken or too fucked up to change whatever life that you may have built while actively acting through the trauma that you experience. Just because your life is one way does not mean it has to be that way forever. I'm going to say that again. Just because your life is one way, you may not like it, you may like it. Regardless, it doesn't have to be that way forever. It's up to you to decide. So I hope y'all enjoyed this little quick, come back to the Handle That podcast. I might rename this shit. I might keep it Handle That. I know I got to do some editing, because the editing is the banner and the logo. That shit is old. It's 2-3 years old. What the fuck? I got a fucking hat, a Knicks hat that I don't even have no more, and a halo around my neck. What? No, it's fucking stupid. But anyway, everybody be groovy. I say groovy. Everybody be groovy. I'm tired as a bitch. It's like 1:30. Everybody be groovy. Everybody be cool. And above all else, handle that.